Hey guys, so this is the scouting report for Brentwood in their playoff final against Billericay, which they unfortunately lost 2-1. And there's quite a few players in there which I've seen over the years. I actually went to watch Brentwood get promoted the previous season via the playoffs, and there's a few players, not many, but there's a few players in the team that are still there. Andy Freeman, who's been with them for years, great technical player. He was playing at left back. I've seen him play further forward for him in the past. Really quite a tall lad, but mobile. A lad that could have probably gone on and played higher than step 4 a lot earlier, but it seems like he's a sort of a club man. Matty Cripps, who was playing centre half for him, who I remember well from actually in my playing days before I finished. He was playing for Cornard as like a 16-year-old centre back, and at the time my dad recommended him to Colchester to get him into their academy, and he's gone on to be, a really top centre half. The obvious thing that's probably held him back over the years is his height, but he's still got a very good leap on him, and he looks very comfortable at step 3. Obviously, being with them being in the playoffs, you can't really have any weaknesses in your team, and so that shows that he's more than comfortable with step 3, which I'm not surprised at. Reed at right back, I've seen with him before as well. When I was coaching at Sudbury, he was a part of that team then. Good solid fullback, really good solid fullback. Good in 1v1s, comfortable on the ball. I wouldn't necessarily say he's like really exciting going forward and full of pace, dribbling, anything like that, but he's solid and does a job. And again, another player that I'm not surprised is comfortable at step 3. And a new player that I'd seen in this game is Ethan Kaiser, who is huge, absolute monster. And he's very similar to he's taller than Ryan Scott, but he's in the team for a reason, and that is his defensive ability. He can certainly pass the ball, but he's a very similar player to Ryan Scott, whereas you're not going to build out play through him necessarily. You're not going to expect to see him like travelling out with the ball and going past people, stepping into midfield, that type of defender. He's the type of defender that is going to win everything, be a massive threat in both boxes, and really help the team. So I really liked him. He's really quick. He was quite vocal alongside Matty Cripps. Yeah, very, very comfortable at step 3. I think he's like 20, 24, 25 now. So would you see him going higher? Possibly not. But it's not to say that he couldn't and that he won't, because centre backs, I tend to find with age and experience do sort of step up the levels. So yeah, he's one to keep an eye on, Ethan Kaiser, for sure. Not too sure on his background. I did look it up, but I forgot to note it. But yeah, I've just got him marked down. And then there was a midfield 3 of Charlie Edwards, Louis Johnson and Alejandro Machado. Alejandro Machado I've put a star by, because I'm not sure how this lad isn't playing at a much higher level. I've had him noted to go and watch him for a little while, and before the game I was excited to go see him, to see is he like a comfortable player at step 3, because he came in at step 4 at Grays last season, and he seemed to be on the team sheet every single week under Darren Manning, and I thought, okay, you know, he's quite a new face. Haven't heard about him before, so new to the league, that type of thing. And then he got a move up to Averley, and I thought, okay, right, okay, blimey, he's, you know, maybe he's a one that's just sort of developing and will develop slowly. But then I did the research into it before the game a little bit more, knowing that I was going to get a chance to watch him, and he's got 6 years experience in academy football at Real Madrid, which straight away highlights he's gonna be a half decent player. And so my eyes were kind of like glued to him, and I kind of made a beeline for him, to keep my eyes on him, see what he does on and off the ball, and that type of thing. And I kind of like when I scout, I look, firstly I try and look at, if you're a scout and you've been through your scouting levels and stuff, they'll talk to you about the four corners, which is very basic, but it's a good way to, you know, box players' skill sets. And, you know, so we're looking at technical ability, tactical ability, the social ability, so like, you know, the mental stuff, how he gets on with the players, does he talk, and the physical ability, so physical, social, technical, tactical. And for me, watching him coming out of that game, he ticks every single box. Like, he's a big guy, and he's got the frame of a, you know, he's got the shape of a pro. For me, you know, he's really filled out. His legs are huge, but he's really mobile, and he's powerful. You know, whereas like I mentioned before with like a Sam Richardson who I watched at Chatham last week, he's 19, so he's still quite slight. Probably will be quite slight, but you know, you think probably he will fill out if he has the more training and in the gym, a full-time training, that type of thing. Whereas with Machado, he's already there. He looks like he's already there, and his technical ability was just oozes class. The way he moves around the pitch, and there was a real spell after Billericay had scored that he was sort of like conducting the game by himself. You see him dropping into good spaces, in the hope to pick the ball up himself. But if he wasn't picking the ball up himself, he was making room for someone else to pick the ball up. And the midfield three with Charlie Edwards and Louis Johnson rotated so nicely. I wouldn't have said there was a natural sitter. It was just kind of flowed and rotated, which was really cool to watch, and very similar to like Chatham the week before in the playoff, in the way that they rotated position. And he just took up some amazing positions, like really, really good positions, and that really impressed me. Questions I would have had about him from the tactical point of view would have been if he's asked to be disciplined and sit as a defensive midfielder, or you know, could he do that? Does he always need to be on the move to find space and rotate and stuff? And I asked it of a former manager, and he said no. He said no. He can do that for you, but if you do get him doing something like that, it limits him, because that takes away another massive strength that he's got in his technical ability, where he can score goals. You know, I think he previously scored 17 goals. I don't know how many he scored this season, but he scored a few goals. And he's not the type of player that really I didn't see during that game him making the box, bursting. So it tells me that he's scoring goals from distance, and he's got real technical ability to be able to do that. So if a team higher up could get him in and play him in like an 8, you know, that can do a bit of both, going forward, going back, I'd love to see it. I really would love to see it. He would be such a good watch. He's a bit older and he's 25. So again, that was another thing that made, as a scout, you kind of look at things and think, well, why is he not already there at 25, you know? But he's obviously spent the majority of his time playing in Spain, you know, and then he's come over and he's had to find a path. I think he's started off lower down, so he played at like a team called South Park. He went to someone else, then he played step 4 with Grays, then he's gone to Averley, then he's gone to Brentwood. So, you know, you're talking maybe 5 seasons there, when from the age of maybe 20, 21, where he's sort of lost a bit of time. But since he's been in England, he's stepped up each time, and I just wonder how far he can go, and how far he can step. Because for me, he has to play at step 2 next season. Obviously, Brentwood fans won't want to hear that, but I'd love to see him play step 2, step 1 next season, and really test himself and see if he can play at that level, because he really looked class. He's a lovely player to watch. The movement, and you know, and I've read a few clips about, you know, how he is, and because you sometimes question whether players coming from different countries come over and don't get the physical aspect of English football and non-league especially. And you know, one of it, he says he's, you know, people describe him as his biggest asset is his determination and his desire to win the ball, you know, and he just ticks every single box for me, and that's one that I'm really excited about. I really want to watch him again, and I really would love to, you know, highlight him. And before, you know, he's really, there's not a lot of people that are really, I don't really see anyone shout about him as such on X, so this is me shouting about him. He could be huge. He could go on to be a pro player, and I'd love to see it. The other guys in the team, Danny Agunli, don't know how if I pronounce it right. Kymani Thomas, and then Brad Satch up front. I was looking forward to seeing Agunli. I saw him in the playoff final last year, and he's loads of energy and gets around the pitch. He's obviously very quick. He scored a lot of goals, but it's the second time that I've watched him and I haven't come away getting that feeling. Like, I haven't come away of getting that wow that I maybe got with Machado and that I got with Richardson last week and Elliot Long. And so I was a bit disappointed in that, really. And you know, he might just had a bad day, or maybe it was the position, because he was sort of asked to play off of the right and come in central, and I'm not really sure if that suited him. Like, Thomas really kept wide, got his defender 1v1, took him on, delivered crosses and stuff like that. I think he's 21, 22, Thomas, and he looked more of a player than what Agunli did on the day. So I really need to go and watch again and see maybe what I'm missing, because obviously he knows how to score. And I said to my pal that I went with before the game, you know, playoff games are always going to be tight. You don't very often expect loads and loads of goals. So a player like him, who obviously can score goals, they're the sort of players that you think they'll pop up with a moment of magic. You know, they might not do anything the whole game, but they're so used to scoring goals and in all different types of way that he could be a match winner on bang split second. But I didn't see anything. I didn't see any of that today. He's carrying a knock. Maybe the positioning was bad for him. Yeah, so little bit disappointed in that one, to be fair. I never like to do players down at all, obviously. He's obviously a very good player at step 3, and he's scoring a lot of goals. So if you do score a lot of goals, that level, goals are like, you know, strikers and goals are like absolute gold dust. Maybe you could question management. Should he have been playing through the middle as a striker? Because I've seen him in the past, and he has played as a striker, and he's looked more involved in the game. But obviously, being a wide man, you need a bit more discipline, and you need to defend as well as you attack. Has that taken away his biggest asset? It's questionable, really. So, yeah, that's one really that, yeah, I'm quite surprised. And like I say, if any Brentwood fans watching this and have an opinion on it, absolutely, like, get in touch. I love to discuss different players and debate different players. And, you know, I've seen him, you know, twice in 2 playoff finals. So, and once before that when they were at step 4. So my opinion won't be as well rounded, of course, as people that watch him week in, week out. Some players do, you know, you do have to watch them a few times to really get what it is that they do, and, you know, get what their real, like, proper strength is. But to me, most of the time, the ones that really are outstanding, they jump out at you straight away, like Machado. So yeah, overall, I've faced up against Brentwood at step 4. Great club, with some good players. It's good to see some of them players still there and going up to step 3 with them. Who knows, a few more additions next season, and they might be bang up there next year. So yeah, great one. Really enjoyed the game, and congratulations to Billericay and commiserations to Brentwood. Cheers, guys. Please share, and let's help non-league be seen.